Okay, this word Sangha Nusati, actually, in a way, you can say it's made out of three words. Sangha, you know, that of the, what they call, community of monastics. Anusati, usually treated as one word, it means recollection, contemplation, reflection. But the Anusati, the word sati also comes into play. Sati is mindfulness. But mindfulness is you can only recollect something from the past. You cannot be mindful of what is happening now. So the idea of being aware here and now is actually not possible, physically not possible, because the thing happened immediately after, the thought moment after, then only you can think about what happened earlier, maybe a moment earlier. So sati is always mindful of the immediate past. Okay, so you're essentially Sangha and Anusati, or Sangha Anu and then Sati, made of three words. You're talking about recollections, reflections, contemplation of the what they call the community of monastics. But okay, going further, Sangha Nusati, recollection of the Sangha or the virtues of the Sangha. Now, many of these pages I have already shared with those who participated in the senior MBE already, but I have added extra pages to address some of the past year questions they are talking about. So, but for the benefit of those who didn't go through the MBE senior and jump straight into the deep end of the pool, that means MBE higher, I'm using this again. So for the rest of us, it's more of a quick revision. So origins of the Sangha, well, most of you will remember about the Brahma Sampati's invitation to the Buddha. Although it's called an invitation, it's actually what they call a request to the Buddha to survey the capabilities of the human race. So a lot of people thought that the Buddha refused to teach, but actually that is not so. There's a sutta related to Brahma Sampati's and the interaction with the Buddha. The Buddha thought that look at the Dhamma is so deep, so complicated. Then he thought, oh, probably the rest of the human race cannot understand. So no point teaching. So when Brahma Sampati read the Buddha's mind, he came down to earth in front of the Buddha, paid respect, and request the Buddha, and mentioned to the Buddha that there are human beings or beings who are capable of understanding. Then only the Buddha turned his mind, his Buddha mind, to survey the abilities of the human race. And he found that there are actually many, although the Dhamma is very, very complicated and very deep, but there are some who has a chance to understand. So because the Buddha has found out that some of the human beings have a chance to understand, then he decided, okay, open are the doors to the deathless, which is a famous saying from that particular sutta, which is a conversation between Brahma Sampati and the Buddha. Not that the Buddha refused, but the Buddha was looking at the situation from different angles. The first time, looking at the depth of the Dhamma, when he decided not to teach. And then the second time, after he surveyed the ability of human beings to understand, he found out that many can still understand. So he decided to teach. So, and of course, from there, he decided to find out who he can teach. He thought of Alara Kalama, his first ascetic teacher. Then the second, Udaka Ramaputta, but both had already passed away recently. Then he thought of the 5 ascetics. And he went to Isipatthana, the deer park, to teach the first sermon, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. And towards the end of the sutta, the Buddha exclaimed, "So you really know Kondanya." So Kondanya was the first, of the 5 ascetics to attain the first stage of sainthood, Sotapan. Okay, he was not an Arahat, he only attained the first stage of sainthood. And then between the first sermon and the second sermon, the Buddha held a number of tutorials, more explanations, and conducting of meditations with the balance 4 other ascetics, and they also attained the first stage of sainthood before the Buddha taught the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta. So when all 5 were already first stream winners, then only the Buddha taught the second sermon, the discourse on not self, and then all 5 attained arahathood. And soon, of course, after that, he he met up with Yasa, his 54 friends, and he got the first 60 disciples, which is given in the artistic rendition at the top left of this page, and he sent off the first missioners. So once, even with the attainment of Sotapan by Kondanya, you can say that the Arya Sangha was born, right? Because immediately after he attained the Sotapan, Anya Kondanya, Kondanya who knows, requested ordination from the Buddha. So the first Sangha member was Kondanya. And at the end of the Ananda Lakana Sutta, all 5 became Arahats. Then the next admission to the order were all 5. Okay, first Kondanya, then Tamba, another 4 more. So at the end of the Ananda Lakana Sutta, when they requested ordination from the Buddha, they there were 5 members of the Sangha. Notice at this level, Sangha means Arya Sangha, the enlightened Sangha, not just the one who wear, not just Buddhist monks. Sangha normally means the enlightened members of the order. So here are some words for consideration. Sangha literally means community, assembly, or multitude. And of course, there are 2 kinds of Sangha, the Samoti Sangha and the Arya Sangha. So the Samoti Sangha, which is the majority, which we see today, the conventional or institutional Sangha, typically the monks and nuns we see in temples or monasteries. But the Arya Sangha, community of noble ones, consisting these 4 pairs of persons or 8 types of individuals, as we will go through the Sanghanusati reflection. This one doesn't mean that they must be renunciants, Even lay people who have attained the first stage of sainthood, Sotapan, they are part of the Arya Sangha. So Sangha members normally are those who have renounced the world, but they may contain a few lay people. And typically lay people would, they will attain to the first stage of sainthood. Rarely do you find lay people having even attained the 3rd stage of sainthood. There are during the Buddha's time, but very, very, very few. Now at the bottom, Anusati. Now, as I explained earlier, literally means recollection, remembrance. Some people might say contemplation and reflection also. Anusati. A very important aspect in Buddhism, because a lot of things you learn, whether Four Noble Truths, Noble Eightfold Path, and many other suttas where the Buddha gives advice, Buddhists are encouraged to do anusati, recollection and reflection. Recollection means to remember what was said, what was your learning from the book or from the Dhamma talk or from your reading. But it also contains not just recollection, but reflection. It means to contemplate, to think about the various implications, how it applies to you in your life, your state, your current understanding, how your practice is, and so on. So Anusati is very, very important because it deepens your samadhi, your right understanding, and therefore it affects your right thought and going down the Noble Eightfold Path. So Anusati is instrumental after learning something from somebody, reading or hearing, that you remember and you think about it and you rationalize and so on. Now, here we talk about Chatu Parisa. Chatu Parisa containing 2 words, Chatu and Parisa. Parisa meaning assembly or groupings. Chatu means 4, 4-fold assembly. Now, sometimes you hear Dhamma speakers, whether monastic or lay people, they make the mistake of saying the 4-fold Sangha. That is wrong. The moment you use the word Sangha, Sangha means monastic community. So Sangha always can only contain 2, means the monks and the nuns. That's Sangha. So the other, what about laity, lay people like us? We are Upasika and Upasaka. So Upasaka is a layman, Upasika are the lay women. Now, when you count all 4 together, the Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni, Upasaka, and Upasika, these constitute the 4-fold assembly. The Pali word is Chatu Parisa. You cannot use the word 4-fold Sangha. There's no such thing as the 4-fold Sangha. Okay. Now, going into the Sangha Nusati, now very often in any puja or homage to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, we go through the reflection or recollection or anusati of the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. So the reflection on the Buddha is called Buddha Nusati. Typically, we start off the recital or the recollection with Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho and so on. Then you have the recollection or reflection on the Dhamma, Dhamma Nusati. So reflection on that. So typically we start off with Swakato, Bhagavata, Dhammo, and so on. And now we come to the third jewel, Sangha Anusati. So reflection and recollection of the qualities of the Sangha. So it's shortened to mention as Sangha Nusati. Now the Buddhanusati reflects over 9 qualities, Dhammanusati over 6 qualities, which I think the other lecturers have already covered. Sanghanusati goes over the 9 qualities of the Sangha. In this case, if you read through this 9 qualities, it's clear that this list applies only to the Arya Sangha, not the Samuti Sangha. Okay, less of the Samuti Sangha, that means ordinary Sangha, but more to the Arya Sangha, those enlightened. Enlightened means at least attain to the first stage of sainthood, not necessarily Arahat, but at least the first stage. And as I mentioned, many people during the Buddha's time attained the first stage were lay people. Okay, very, very few lay people attained to the third stage of sainthood. Or rather, they didn't renounce because of some certain worldly commitments. Like in one case, I forgot the name of the person. He couldn't renounce the world because he had to take care of his parents, his aged parents. So he has a duty to take care of his parents. He's still got to earn a living. In fact, he made cooking pots, various kind of earthenware pots, and leave it outside his house to sell. People leave money. And use that money to take care of his family. That means his family means his father and mother. He was not married. He couldn't renounce, but he already attained the third stage of sainthood. This is how capable he is, and how responsible he is to his father and mother. Now, going through the Sanghanusati, now we are familiar with Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho. Then another one is Ujupatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Nyaya. Now, Nyaya, very often people recite this one wrongly. The N, you notice the N here has the wavy line above it. The N with the wavy line above it is pronounced NY, Nya. It is not NA, it's not NAYA, it's not Naya, it's Nyaya. Okay, the N with the twiddle is pronounced as NY. So Nyanya Patipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho. And then the fourth quality is Samichi Patipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho. So Supatipanno, meaning well practiced. Uju Patipanno, straightforwardly practiced. Nyaya Patipanno, methodically practiced. Samichi Patipanno, masterfully practiced. This is one translation. I will provide another page where I give variations in Pali to English translation of these few critical Pali words. And then the reflection goes on further. After the first 4 qualities, there are no qualities here in this middle paragraph, but it talks about the result of these 4. Yadidang Chattari Purisa Yugani Atta Purisa Pukkala. Now, Pali, you must also note, Chattari, you pronounce as, although it is Cattari, you pronounce the Cat first. When there are 2 T's, you pronounce the first T, up to the first T first, Chat. And then the next syllable is called Tari. Okay, Chattari. Purisa Yugani, Atta, the A-T-T-H-A, A-T and At, and then T-H-A is Ta. Atta Purisa Pukkala. So this is the general principle of pronunciation, not for chanting purposes, but just generally how you pronounce Pali terms. When you do chanting in Pali, there are additional rules for chanting to make it sound nice and all that. Sometimes they take the A or the whatever from another word and add it to the back of the earlier word. So that is chanting to make it sound nice. But I'm talking about Pali pronunciation now. So Yadidang Chattari Purisa Yugani Atta Purisa Pukala. So we're talking about, in other words, 4 types of noble disciples when taken as pairs, the 8 when taken as individual types. And then we go down to the balanced 5 qualities. Esa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ahuneyo Pahuneyo Dakineyo Anjali Karneyo Anuttarang Punya Ketang Lokasati. So they are the Sangha of the Blessed One's disciples. Ahuneo is worthy of gifts. Pahuneo, worthy of hospitality. Dakineo, worthy of offerings. Anjali Karneo, worthy of respect or reverential salutation. Anuttarang Punya Ketang Lokasati. Now, incomparable field of merit for the world. Incomparable, the Pali word is Anuttarang. Now, field is Ketang, Punya is merit, Lokasa is the world. So incomparable field of merit. So we'll go through some of these in the subsequent pages. There are many, many suttas. Notice, not everything you chant during a puja at the vihara or temple, whether Sri Lanka monks or Thai monks or whatever, are from the suttas. So many have been composed many years after the Buddha passed away for purposes of devotional chanting and so on. But the going for refuge, the 5 precepts and the Buddha Nusati, Dhamma Nusati, and Sangha Nusati, which we have here, are frequently found in multiple suttas. So these are traceable to the suttas. And this particular one I happen to identify is the Dutiya Mahanama Sutta from the Samyutta Nikaya, chapter 55, Sutta number 22. But this is not the only sutta where the Sangha Nusati is found. There are many, many other suttas also. Now, here is another rendition of the translation. Now, more like word for word. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho. Supatipanno, of good conduct. Bhagavato, Blessed One. Savaka Sangho. Sangho or Sangha, community of the monastics. Savaka is disciple, but typically Savaka means the listener. Savaka means listener. Listen to who? The disciple listens to the teacher. In this case, the teacher is the Buddha, the Sammasambuddha. So the Savaka Sangho are the community of students or listeners or disciples who listen, who go to the Buddha for refuge, to learn from the Buddha. Okay, that's why they're called the Savaka Sangho. The disciples from this Savaka Sangho who become enlightened, to become arahats, they are also known as Savaka Buddhas. Okay, you might have heard there are 3 kinds of Buddhas: the Sammasambuddha, Pacceka Buddha, and the Savaka Buddha. Savaka Buddha are the arahats. Savaka Buddha are the monastics, the disciples who got enlightened with the help of a Sammasambuddha. Okay, if they are fortunate, they can also get enlightened by listening to a Pacceka Buddha. But Pacceka Buddhas are not experts at teaching to enlighten another person. So very unlikely lah. So of course, Uju Patipanno, of upright conduct. Nyaya Patipanno, of wise conduct. Samichi Patipanno, of dutiful conduct. So these are the alternative translation of and towards after the 4 qualities have been recited, then we go to Yadidang Chattari Purisa Yugani Atta Purisa Pukala. So literally word for word translated here, Yadidang or Idang, this Chattari, as I mentioned, Chatu Purisa, Chattari is 4, Purisa is persons, Yugani means pair, Atta means 8. You are familiar with Atta Sila, the 8 precepts. The Purisa means person, and Pugala meaning individuals. Esa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho. So the translation is given there. And then going to the offerings, the worthiness of offerings, hospitality of gifts, and reverential salutation. Here I already mentioned. And then Anuttarang Punya Ketang Lokasati. As I mentioned, Anuttarang is incomparable. Punya, merit. Ketang is the field or coverage. And Lokasa means the world. You will notice from these slides, I've taken many of these slides from other Dhamma sharers also, because we were involved in the, 3 of us were involved in sharing on aspects on Sangha. So I've collated some of their slides into one massive sharing lah. Now going further, here is what I call, what I've already mentioned, Sangha Anusati or Sangha Anusati, recollection or reflection on the qualities of the Arya Sangha. Su Patipanno, Su meaning something good, something well. In this case, practice well. Patipanno is to practice. Su is practice well, the good practice, and so on. So Patipanno typically meaning practice, also followed, reaching, going along, and so on. Savaka, a hearer, a listener, or frequently the people use the word disciple of in the community. So what does Supatipanno mean? Practice well and of good conduct and all that. Well, essentially it means mindful conduct or practice according to the Dhamma Vinaya. Dhamma Vinaya is what the Buddha referred to, what he has been teaching. Today we call that Buddhism lah, which contains the Dhamma Vinaya plus all the cultural influences and so on. So Dhamma Vinaya is essentially the threefold training of Sila, Samadhi, Panya, the Noble Eightfold Path lah. So the Supatipanno refers to the practice, the threefold training of Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Here is just a reminder of the Noble Eightfold Path, which all of you should be very well versed. Now, Uju Patipanno, Uju, straightforwardly, practice directly, or in some translation, upright conduct or upright practice. So Uju Patipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho talks about conduct or practice of the threefold training, the middle path, by avoiding the extremes of sensual pleasures and self-mortification, and the abandoning the faults of body, speech, and mind. So you need to avoid the extremes of sensual pleasures and self-mortification. Self-mortification is torturing yourself. Now, this is, most of you would remember, this is the first thing the Buddha advised the 5 ascetics during in the first discourse. The first portion, the Buddha says there are 2 extremes you must avoid: sensual pleasure and self-mortification. This is the starting of the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. And here I extract that the first sermon, Mendicants, these 2 extremes should not be cultivated by one who has gone forth. So indulgence in sensual pleasures, indulgence in self-mortification. So avoiding these 2 extremes, the Buddha woke up by understanding the middle way of practice and so on. So if in the exam question, they ask you which Pali Sutta is related to this virtue of the Sangha, okay, you can cite these suttas accordingly. So the sutta continues, it is simply the Noble Eightfold Path. Now moving to the third quality of the Arya Sangha, Nyaya Patipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho. Practice methodically. So also talk about practice insightfully, walking on the right path, wise conduct. So there are variations in the. So whenever you see in any Pali word, there is a nyanya. This talking about wise, wisdom, insight aspects. Together with other words is paired up with. So here, nyanya patipanno refers to conduct or practice of the threefold training or middle path to gain insight into the way things are, with the aim of attaining and realizing nibbana. So notice the word nibbana, there are two B's. You pronounce nibbana by N-I-B, nib, then bana. The A has a dash on top, so there's a long A. So bana. So nibbana, not N-I-B-A-N-A, no, not nibbana. Nibbana. So what is nibbana? From various suttas, and you can quote these suttas to explain this third quality of the Sangha. What is nibbana? Nibbana is peaceful, sublime, stilling of all activities, letting go of all attachments, the ending of craving, fading away, cessation, extinguishment, and so on. And this is quoted from the Ananda Sutta, Anguttara Nikaya, Book of 3, Sutta number 32. In yet another sutta, the Nakasika Sutta, Samyutta Nikaya, chapter 13, Sutta number 1, approaching total freedom from dukkha. Now, the Blessed One, picking up a little bit of dust with the tip of his fingernail, said to the monks, "What do you think, monks? Which is greater, the little bit of dust I have picked up with the tip of my fingernail, or the great earth?" The Buddha is very skillful at using these obvious comparisons. And the monks replied, "The great earth is far greater, Lord. The little bit of dust the Blessed One has picked up with the tip of his fingernail is next to nothing. It's not 100, 1,000, or 100,000. This little bit of dust the Blessed One has picked up with the tip of his fingernail when compared to the great earth." Now, this sutta is very important. Okay, this sutta continues. In the same way, monks, for a disciple of the noble ones who is consummate in view, that means perfect in view, complete in view, that means he has right view, consummate in view, an individual who has broken through means uprooted at least some of the defilements out of the 10. So in this case, bracket is to stream entry. Now, to stream entry means you've uprooted at least 3 defilements out of the 10. The first stage of sin entry is sotapan. Now, the suffering and stress, or suffering and dukkha, that is totally ended and extinguished is far greater. So that which remains in the state of having at most 7 remaining lifetimes is next to nothing. It's not 100, 1,000, 100,000 when compared with the previous mass of suffering. That's how great the benefit is of breaking through to the Dhamma, monks. That's how the great benefit is of obtaining the Dhamma eye. The Dhamma eye that sees through, and when you see Dhamma eye means the person has at least uprooted the first 3 defilements, attained to stream entry or sotapan. Now, why in the first paragraph, the Buddha says, the suffering and stress that is totally ended and extinguished is far greater. Why? Because we have been in samsara, the unending samsara. The beginning of this samsara cannot be fathomed, cannot be traced. And it goes back further back in time. You cannot use years to measure samsara. It goes back before there was a solar system, before there was a Milky Way galaxy. It goes beyond the origin of this universe and to previous universes and so on. So if you have read other suttas where the Buddha talks about on Vesak Eve, when he had the first watch of the night, he directed his mind to the recollection of his past life. he went very far back. Multiple universes, where in this place he was born like that, he lived a life and he died, and he was born again in another place and so on. So the suffering and stress in each life, there was dukkha, and there was a lot of dukkha going back infinitum. But once you attain the first stage of sainthood, one benefit is that if you are very slow at attaining arahatship, after you attain the first stage of sainthood, the slowest sotapan is 7 more lifetimes compared to the incalculable lifetimes you had in samsara before. So that's why the Buddha says the little bit, the dirt underneath the nail is equivalent to 7 more lifetimes. The earth on the dirt in the whole planet Earth is like the samsara, which is what they call infinity. So moving on, Samichi Patipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho. Samichi typically translated as practice masterfully, also correct in life, accomplished in the practice, the proper way, or dutiful conduct. So these are variations of the Pali word Samichi. Now here, Samichi Patipanno points to integrity in conduct or practice of the threefold training or middle path, so that the person is worthy of respect, of receiving requisites of veneration. So to be worthy of respect, receiving requisites, and veneration. Now here, this sutta is quite interesting. Pinta Pata Parisudhi Sutta. Pinta Pata means the food in the alms bowl. The word pinda, P-I-N-D-A, means food or a ball of rice. You know, when we eat our nasi lemak or Indian banana leaf rice with our fingers, we don't eat with our hands, we eat with our fingers. We typically massage the rice with some curry, pour onto it. We make a small ball of rice, and then we use a thumb to push the rice into our mouth. That ball of rice is called pinda. Pata means the alms bowl carried by the monastics. Okay. Pinta Pata does not normally mean going on alms round. Pinta Pata means the rice in the alms bowl or the food in the alms bowl. That's all it means, literally, grammatically. To go on alms round is called Pinta Cara. Cara means going on alms round, going for around for looking for food. Here the Buddha says they should reflect along the path that I went for alms. For alms means Pinta Cara, or in the place I wandered for alms, or along the path that I returned from alms. Was there any desire or greed or hate or delusion or repulsion in my heart for sights known by the eye? So clearly, here this particular sutta points out at the meditative mindfulness practice monastics are supposed to engage in when going for alms round, whether going, collecting, and returning with their alms. They should reflect on their contents of their minds. Suppose that upon checking, a monk knows that there was such desire or greed or hate or delusion or repulsion in their heart. They should make an effort to give up those unskillful qualities. But suppose that upon checking, a monk knows that there is no such desire or greed, hate, delusion, repulsion in their heart. They should meditate with rapture and joy, training day and night in skillful qualities. And this was talking about the eye. But similarly, the reflection should also cover of sounds by the ear, smells by the nose, tastes by the tongue, touch by the body, thoughts known by the mind. So these are talking about reflection over the 6 senses while going, collecting, and returning with the alms during the Pinta Cara. So have I given up the 5 hindrances? These are some things they ask. Have I completely understood the 5 grasping aggregates? Pancha, Upadana Kanda, okay, the 5 grasping aggregates, also mentioned in the first sermon by the Buddha, definition of dukkha, or the first noble truth, 5 grasping aggregates, and so on. So here we have gone through the first 4 qualities of the Arya Sangha. And then we move on to the Yadidang Chattari Purisa Yugani Atta Purisa Bukkala, 4 pairs of noble disciples when taken as pairs, or 4 types, and 8 when taken as individual types. Now we move on to this explanation. The noble Sangha, or the Arya Sangha, consists of 8 types of noble persons who are joined into 4 pairs in relation to the 4 stages of awakening. Now, the 2 members of each pair are the one who has attained the stage itself. Fruition, in Pali is pala, and the one who has entered the path, magga, leading irreversibly toward that stage. So here, in the sutta from the Anguttara Nikaya, sutta from the book of 8, sutta number 59, it talks about these 8 types of individuals. They go in pairs, as indicated by this chart. Now, moving on, the 4 stages of awakening or enlightenment, or the 4 pairs of disciples. We start at the bottom of the Arya Sangha, or rather start at the bottom, starting with us, Puttujana, the unenlightened worldlings. We are known as the Anarya, but more frequently, we refer to ourselves as Puttujana, worldlings, ordinary people. We may be very smart, that means very high IQ, super smart like Einstein or higher, or we are very stupid. Whatever it is, as long as we are not enlightened, we are Puttujana. Then once we have got rid of the first 3 defilements, we attain stream entry, Sotapatti. Now, when we attain stream entry, we have transformed ourselves. We have irreversibly, or one-way traffic, change ourselves from Puttujana to be a member of the Arya Sangha. Okay, Sotapatti. Then the next one is once returning, Sakadagami, and moving up, non-returning, Anagami, and after gaining full enlightenment, we call ourselves Arahats. All these 4 stages of awakening are the Arya Sangha. Now, the 4 stages of awakening enlightenment are distinguished by the fetters or defilements that they eliminate or uproot, and the number of rebirths that remain for those who attain them. Now, very often in the suttas, the suttas refer to these 10 fetters or the 10 defilements, or the Pali word is Sangyojana, as 5 lower fetters and 5 higher fetters. Okay, often you find that in reference. So this particular range is given in the Anguttara Nikaya, Book of 10, Sutta number 13. Now, the 5 lower fetters being Sakkaya Ditthi, individuality view, a view of the self, skeptical doubt, Vicikicca, attachment to rites and rituals, Silabbata Paramasa. Now, these are the 3, Sakkaya Ditthi, Vicikicca, Silabbata Paramasa, are the first 3 fetters or defilements which a person uproots and attains stream entry or Sotapan. When the person has managed to tone down 2 further defilements or fetters, that being the Vyapada and the Kamachanda. Vyapada is ill will, Kamachanda is sensual desire. The person attains the second stage of sainthood, or Sakadagami. When the person has managed to uproot Vyapada and Kamachanda, ill will and sensual desire, the person attains the third stage of sainthood, Anagami. So Sotapan, Sakadagami, and Anagami constitutes the attainment, uprooting of the 5 lower fetters. After that, to become an Arahat from Anagami, you have 5 higher fetters to uproot. Rupa Raga lasts for form. Arupa Raga lasts for formless. Mana, conceit. Udacha, restlessness. And finally, Avijja, ignorance. Now, do note that Avijja is critical because Avijja is required for rebirth to take place. No Avijja, no rebirth. The whole purpose of becoming enlightened is to get rid of Avijja. Okay. Now, don't say it's karma. Avijja is the seed. Karma is the fertilizer, is the water, is the nutrient that supports Avijja for after being born. Then the karma takes over to provide what they call nutriment for you to stay alive in whatever planes of existence. Once you get rid of Avijja, no, you are disqualified from rebirth. Now here, these few pages describe in greater detail Sotapan, the 5 lower fetters, but here highlighted are the 3 fetters I mentioned. With the destruction of the 3 lower fetters, the disciple becomes a stream enterer, Sotapan, no longer subject to rebirth in woeful states, bound to reach liberation in the maximum of 7 more lives, passed either in the human realm or in the Deva world. Now, this aspect is mentioned in the Sutta in Anguttara Nikaya, Book of 3, Sutta number 86. Now, of interest to many of us are the fact that we do not want to be born in lower realms of existence. The lowest is called, we stay back as born again as humans. Okay, so once you attain stream entry, Sotapan, no longer subject to rebirth in woeful states. So plane existence number 1, 2, 3, 4, you are not eligible to be born 1, 2, 3, 4. Human realm, Manusa Loka, is plane of existence number 5. So the lowest is number 5 after you have attained Sotapan. But depending on, there are a few kinds of Sotapan, at least 3 kinds of Sotapan. The slowest type of Sotapan will take at most 7 more lifetimes before he or she can become an Arahat. The other Sotapans can be enlightened within that life itself, or they take 1 or 2 more lives before they get enlightened. Of course, beyond the scope of this MBE higher. Those who have attended Bhante Agachita's workshop, recent workshop, you will come across a number of suttas referring to these 3 kinds of Sotapans. The second stage of sainthood, Sakadagami, you what they call weaken the next 2 fetters. With the destruction of the 3 fetters and the additional diminishing of sensual desire, you will corresponding to greed, hatred, and delusion. One becomes a once returner who comes back to this world 1 more time and then makes an end to suffering. Makes an end of suffering means attains Arahat 1 more time. So 1 more birth. Anagami, you have already uprooted the 5 lower fetters. So with the destruction of all 5 lower fetters, the disciple becomes a non-returner, Anagami, who takes spontaneous rebirth in the form realm, usually in a special region called the pure abodes. These are in the Brahma lokas, very, very hard. That means go beyond the Deva realms, go to the Brahma at the top of the, just before the Arupa lokas. Okay, this is very, very high. Now we say non-returner. Non-returner means not returning to the human realm, doesn't come back to the human realm. You, after passing away, will be born in among the few plane existence called the pure abodes, and attains Nibbana there without returning from that world. But Anagamis can be reborn within the pure abode. There are few plane existence there, among there, but never as a human. And Arahat would have uprooted the balance 5 higher fetters. So with the complete destruction of the taints or fetters or defilements, the disciple becomes an arahat, a fully liberated one. Why is it fully liberated? Liberated from the rounds of samsara. Why? There's no more avijja, no more ignorance. And therefore, the person who attains arahat in this life, that life becomes his or her last life in samsara. After that, on passing away, there is no more rebirth because there is no more avijja, no more ignorance. So, for in number of suttas, the Buddha refers to the mention the term Dhamma I. Remember, I've shared with you the life of Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Moggallana. And in the case of Sariputta, when he was a layperson, Upatissa, known as Upatissa, he was talking to Venerable Asaji, and Venerable Asaji gave a summary, a 4-line stanza summarizing the Buddha's teaching. Upatissa gained the Dhamma I. So what does the Dhamma I see when it arises? At that time, when Asaji mentioned to Upatissa, or frequently we use the term Sariputta, the wanderer, he attained the first stage of sainthood, Sotapanna. So what are the 4 lines mentioned? Whatever phenomena arise from cause, their cause and their cessation. Such is the teaching of the Tathagata, the great contemplative. So when the Sariputta, the wanderer, as he heard this Dhamma exposition, there arose the doubtless, stainless Dhamma I. And this, what they call, translation is often quoted. Whatever is subject to arising is all subject to cessation. So, of course, the story regarding the encounter of Upatissa and Venerable Asaji is contained in the Vinaya Pitaka, in the book called the Mahavagga. So at the bottom, the source is Mahavagga. Now, the path of stream entry with the rising of Dhamma I, insight into the causal principles underlying the arising and cessation of suffering, has the function of cutting off the first 3 fetters, binding the person to samsara. So he attends wisely in the Sabba Asava Sutta. This is suffering. He attends wisely. This is the origin of suffering. He attends wisely. This is the cessation of suffering. He attends wisely. This is the way leading to the cessation of suffering. When he attends wisely in this way, 3 fetters are abandoned in him: personality view, skeptical doubt, and adherence to rules and observances. These are called the taints or defilements that should be abandoned by seeing. Here, seeing here means deep understanding or insight, not just with your eyes. Now, 4 factors of stream entry that the stream enterer possesses. Now, in this particular sutta, between the what they call Anatta Pindika and probably Venerable Ananda, in the Anguttara Nikaya, book of 9, sutta number 27, here householder Anatta Pindika, the noble disciple, possesses unwavering confidence in the Buddha, unwavering confidence in the Dhamma, unwavering confidence in the Sangha. The virtuous behavior loved by the noble ones, unbroken, flawless, unblemished, unblotched, freeing, praised by the wise, untarnished, leading to concentration. These are the 4 factors of stream entry that he possesses. So a person who has attained to stream entry must have all these 4. Now, how does one, here in this case, the Buddha was talking to Venerable Sariputta, and what Sariputta is the factor for stream entry. Here, the Venerable Sariputta says, association with people of integrity, means wise people, listening to the true Dhamma, appropriate attention. Here the Pali word is yoniso manasikara. practice in accordance with the Dhamma. So for this sutta is very interesting. Do check out Sariputta Sutta from the Samyutta Nikaya, chapter number 55, sutta number 5. So we covered some of these aspects, the 4 types of noble disciples taken as pairs and the 8 types of individuals. Now we move on to the bottom. Esa Bhagavato, Savaka Sangho, Ahuneo, Pahuneo, Dakineo, Anjali Karaneo, Anutarang, Punya Ketang, Lokasati. The balanced 5 qualities of this Arya Sangha. Now, in the Ajanya Sutta, the Thoroughbred, from the Anguttara Nikaya Book of 8, Sutta number 13, a monk endowed with 8 qualities is worthy of gifts, worthy of hospitality, worthy of offerings, worthy of respect, and incomparable field of merit for the world. Which 8? He is virtuous. He practices in accordance with the Patimokkha. Patimokkha means the precepts observed by the monastics. For the monks is 227. For the bhikkhunis are 300 over. When given food, whether coarse or refined, he eats it carefully without complaining. He feels disgust at bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct, mental misconduct. He is composed and easy to live with and doesn't harass other monks. He is easy to be advised. When in training, he gives rise to the thought, whether the other monks want to train or not, I'll train here. He follows the Noble Eightfold Path and have strong determination and persistency. So the thoroughbred, a good monk, a good practitioner is such. Endowed with these 8 qualities, a monk is worthy of gifts, hospitality, offerings, and respect, an incomparable field of merit for the world. Now, moving to the worthiness, ahuneo, worthy of offerings. A gift or sacrifice, ahuna, ahuneo comes from the word ahuna, is what one brings that is fit for offering, meaning what is brought from afar and worthy of being given to the morally virtuous, a name given for the 4 requisites. 4 requisites comprising food, robes, medicines, and lodgings. The Sangha is worthy of receiving the gift because it makes it bear great fruit. Thus, it is worthy of offerings, ahuneya. Now, here's a story about Venerable Sariputta's nephew. So, while residing at the Veluvana monastery, Velu means bamboo, Vana means grove, the bamboo grove monastery. That means in the Magadha kingdom, probably donated by King Bibisara. The Buddha uttered this Dhammapada verse 107 with reference to the Venerable Sariputta's nephew. On one occasion, Venerable Sariputta asked his nephew, a Brahmin, whether he was doing any meritorious deeds. His nephew answered that he had been sacrificing a goat in fire worship every month, hoping to get to the Brahma world in his next existence. Venerable Sariputta then explained to him that his teachers had given him false hopes and that they themselves did not know the way to the Brahma world. Then he took his nephew to the Buddha. There the Buddha taught him the Dhamma that would lead one to the Brahmin world or Brahma world, and said to the Brahmin, young Brahmin, paying homage to the bhikkhus for a moment would be far better than making sacrifices in fire worshipping for 100 years. So these Dhammapadas came about because of that incident. Even if for 100 years, one would tend the fire in the forest. If one were to honor those of cultured or cultivated minds for even a moment, That homage is far better than that 100 years of sacrifice. Now, this particular story plus the Mahapada's background clearly indicates that during those days, Brahmanism involved sacrificing animals. It means killed animals at these sacrificial ceremonies. Next, worthiness, worthy, pahuneo, worthy of hospitality. Now, giving made to visitors from all quarters is called hospitality, pahuna, prepared with respect for the sake of beloved and dear relatives and friends. Example, a meal for a guest. There is no object of hospitality so worthy of it as the Sangha, one who is wholly endowed with pure and endearing qualities, and so is fit to receive it. Here we are referring to the practicing Sangha, and more importantly, the Arya Sangha, those who have practiced and gained fruition in their practice. Now, Paha Vinaya, worthy to be shown hospitality, hold that the Sangha is worthy to be placed first. Now, here is yet another sutta, Kala Dana. Notice there are two words here, Kala and Dana. Dana means giving. Kala, you have heard of the quality of the Dhamma. Akalika, Kala meaning time. Time for Dana. So in this case, typically translated as giving at the proper time. So monks, there are these 5 timely gifts. What gift? A gift to a visitor, a gift to someone setting out on a journey, a gift to someone who is sick, a gift at a time of famine, or presenting the freshly harvested grains and fruits first to those who are ethical. In other words, who are accomplished, preferably who are Aryas. These are the 5 timely gifts. Now, moving on to another worthiness aspect, Dakineo, worthy of gifts. Now, what is offered out of faith by devotees with the expectation of receiving benefits in their future life is called a gift, dakina. The Sangha is worthy of that gift, or it is helpful to that giving because it purifies it, making it of great fruit. Thus, it is worthy of gifts, dakineya. Now, dakina specifically refers to offerings made for the benefit of the departed by way of dedication of merits to them. Dakina is also a teacher's honorarium. That means you want to honor the teacher. Dakina means the right side. Hence, one keeps one's right side to the object of respect when saluting or taking leave, as in the phrase Padakinang Karoti. Sanskrit is Pradasina. In the Orient, it is also the right hand with which one offers things. Now, this number 3, right side. Some of you may be familiar with the when we go to a temple, depending on the kinds of pujas or homage ceremonies they do, very often you find congregations circumambulating a pagoda or circumambulating a Buddha Rupa. That means circumambulating meaning walking around the Buddha Rupa or walking around the shrine room or even the pagoda. You notice when they walk around, they always walk clockwise. They never walk anti-clockwise. Why? When you walk clockwise with respect to the Buddha statue, the shrine, or the pagoda, when you walk clockwise, you are showing your right side of your body towards that, what they call pagoda, the shrine, or the Buddha Rupa. So this is object of respect. That means the way you respect is you show your right side. So never walk anti-clockwise. Never show your left side of your body towards the object of veneration. This is an ancient Buddhist custom, and you find very often, not just Buddhists, actually it's an Indian custom. You find many in the suttas, whether it's a monk or lay person, after the person has had a conversation with the Buddha and the person agrees with the teaching of the Buddha, the person salutes the Buddha, and after that departs. And often the sutta, towards the end of the sutta, they mention with his right side to the Buddha. Okay, you check out a few suttas where talk about encounters with different people, you will find this referred to frequently, always showing the right side. Never show your left side, which is disrespectful. Now, moving on to another aspect, sutta that supports this aspect of dakina, a gift of 6 factors. This is the Chalanga Dana Sutta. Cha means 6. So how does a religious donation have 6 factors? Notice the Pali. Katancha bhikkhave chalanga samnya gata dakina hoti. Here the word dakina is mentioned again. Okay, dakineo. So related to the word dakineo. So 3 factors apply to the donor and 3 to the recipients. So out of the 6, 3 to the donor and 3 to the recipients. What 3 apply to the donor? Is when the donor is in a good mood or is glad before giving. Now, while giving, they feel confident. Confident means they have saddha, they have faith, the mind is bright and clear. And after giving, they are uplifted or gratified. Notice the time period: before giving, while giving, and after giving. So in all 3 situations, the mind is in a good state, is glad, is confident, is gratified or uplifted. So these 3 factors apply to the donor. So before you give, please compose yourself. Don't simply just give in a huff, in a hurry. Now, what 3 factors apply to the recipients? So when you want to give to the Sangha members, so is when the recipients are free of greed, free of hatred, free of delusion, or practicing to be free of them. So even the person is not free of greed, hatred, and delusion. Now, when the person is free of greed, hatred, and delusion, the person is typically an arahat. But if this person is not free from greed, hatred, or delusion, that means practicing to be free of them, then the person is still worthy of receiving. So these 3 factors apply to the recipients. So these 3 factors apply to the donor and 3 to the recipients. That's how a religious donation has 6 factors. So religious donation meaning dakina. So which means it is important for us, when you want to maximize the merits generated, that we look for worthy recipients. If the recipient has not been free of greed, hatred, and delusion, at least the recipient should be practicing to be free of them. And of course, you must also take care of your before, during, and after giving mental aspects, as mentioned in this sutta. Now, here the sutta continues and gives elaboration on how immense the merit generated is. It is not easy to grasp the merit of such a 6-factor donation by saying that this is the extent of their overflowing merit, overflowing goodness that nurtures happiness and is conducive to heaven. That means high rebirth in higher planes of existence, ripening in happiness, and leading to heaven. And it leads to what is likable, desirable, agreeable to welfare and happiness. Now, it's simply reckoned as incalculable, immeasurable, a great mass of merit. It's like trying to grasp how much water is in the ocean. It's not easy to say how many gallons, how many hundreds, thousands, hundreds and thousands of gallons there are, and so on. So a person who has the right attitude, the 3 on the donor, and the right recipient, 3 on the recipient side, the merit generated for the donor is overflowing, immeasurable. So be careful on how do you approach this dakina aspect. So in summary, in the same way, it is not easy to grasp the merit of such a six-factor donation. Dakinaya. Now moving to the number 8 of the qualities, Anjali Karaniyo, worthy of reverential salutation. And how is the typical salutation? Salutation with the lotus palms, as given in the bottom right picture. When one recollects the virtues of the Sangha in this way, the Blessed One's community of disciples who have practiced well and so on, straightforwardly, then his mind is not obsessed by lust, not obsessed by hate, not obsessed by delusion. At that time, his mind is straight, inspired by the Sangha. He experiences joy, calmness, ease, and concentration. And this is from the Mahanama Sutta, Anguttara Nikaya, book of 11, Sutta number 13. And the number 9 quality of the Arya Sangha, Anuttarang Punya Ketang Lokasa. Keta, as mentioned, is the field, fertility, or plenty. That is an efficacious spiritual benefits of supporting the noble disciple as a community or individually. The Sangha is an incomparable place in all the world for growing the world's merit. For the various kinds of merits bring welfare and happiness for the world, depending on the purity of the Sangha. Therefore, the Sangha is a supreme field of merits for the world. The Buddha in other suttas, for instance, in the Iti Vuttaka and so on, the Buddha mentions, do not be afraid of making merits. Merits are the energy forces that what they call make the world turn around. And merits provide a pleasant experience for those who have lots of wholesome merits. So figuratively, the term Keta means soil of merit, the deposit of good deeds, which like a fertile field bears fruit to the advantage of the giver of gifts or the doer of good. Now, let's go through some of the past year questions. I may need to provide you with additional notes later. Now, the MBE higher essentially concentrating on the 9 virtues or qualities of the Arya Sangha. Here are some of the different year questions. I'm sure you have all the past year questions, so this should not be a surprise. But I have re-summarized them into this one page. I regrouped them into categories, pointing to the years in which they appear. Now, in all questions essentially touching on the 9 virtues of the Sangha, they will always ask you what are, or give a brief description, or clearly explain these 9 virtues of the Sangha. So the wording of the question is variously formulated, quite often with illustrations from the Pali text. Now, for illustration from the Pali text, for each one, earlier sharing slides, I've referenced many Pali suttas already. You can quote from there. And interestingly, in the higher stage, we talk about the purpose of recollecting these virtues in our daily practice. So the next few slides will talk about that. Then why is the Sangha considered a great field of merit? Emphasis is on the role as a field of merit. Support your answer with reference to the Pali text. So I will provide that. Now here, the elaborate on each of these 9 virtues of the Sangha, that one okay, with evidence from the Jataka. This one I will provide you later with a reference to the Jatakas. And a Jataka story with respect to the life of the Sangha. So some of the life stories you have already come across when I covered some of the other disciples in the earlier sharings. I will provide more in the additional addendum to today's sharing. So today I will not talk about this aspect. And the last one in 2018, only one time it appeared. What is the significance and role of the Sangha in Buddhism? Explain the 9 virtues of the Sangha with emphasis on the role as a field of merit. So in a way, it's a field of merit again. So the next few slides will emphasize on the first 2 zones, especially on the recollecting the virtues in our daily practice, already touched on in the Mahanama Sutta by an earlier slide, but I'll elaborate a little bit more in the following slides, and a great field of merit. Okay, this is the same sutta referred to, but I'll go in greater detail. Dutiya Mahanama Sutta, Anguttara Nikaya, Book 11, Sutta number 12. Now here, extracted from the sutta, here, furthermore, there is a case where you recollect the Sangha. So this is the Supatipanno Bhagavato Sava Sangho, right through the bottom. And the last 2 lines are, at any time when the disciple of the noble ones is recollecting the Sangha, his mind is not overcome with passion, not overcome with aversion or hatred, not overcome with delusion. His mind heads straight based on the Sangha. And when the mind is headed straight, the disciple of the noble ones gains a sense of the goal, gains a sense of the Dhamma, gains joy connected with the Dhamma. In one who is joyful, rapture arises. In one who is rapturous, the body grows calm. One whose body is calm experiences ease. In one at ease, the mind becomes concentrated. So notice these are the various step by step going up to the aspect of the mind becomes concentrated. So Mahanama, you should develop this recollection of the Sangha while you are walking, standing, or sitting, while you are lying down, while you are busy at work, while you are resting at home, crowded with children. Oops. Okay, so these are the essential portions in this particular sutta. Now, notice, although I mentioned in yellow, in one at ease, the mind becomes concentrated. Now, once the mind becomes concentrated, the practitioner is able to dwell in and go deeper into the analysis of anicca, dukkha, anatta, and from there, the person can gain enlightenment. If not arahat, but at least the first stage of sainthood, sotapan. So, which means the recollection of the Sangha or reflection on the virtues of the Arya Sangha helps you to overcome your passion or greed, overcome your hatred or aversion, overcome your delusion, at least to a certain extent. And then when that is overcome to an extent, the person gains your mind heads straight and gains a sense of the goal. The goal is attainment of liberation, of Nibbana. Gains a sense of the Dhamma, and joy arises from this. When joy arises, the person is getting calmer and calmer. Okay, that means towards the jhana levels already. Becomes joyful. Rapture arises. The body grows calm, and the body is calm. Experiences ease. So the person who has ease, the mind becomes concentrated. This is going deeper and deeper into jhana, and from there you can make use of jhana to do other things. That means analysis of the anicca, dukkha, anatta, well into heading towards liberation. This is a full sutta. Most of the sutta anyway, compared to the earlier slide, which was only a sampling. Now, elaboration on the role of the Sangha as a field of merit. Now, here I quote from a sutta called Siha Sutta from the Anguttara Nikaya, Book of 5, Sutta number 34. Now, this sutta is essentially about dana, giving. Okay, many fruits of giving. Now, although it applies a lot to lay people, but here it is respect to this general Siha. This general during the lifetime of the Buddha was a supporter of the Buddha. And this sutta, it says, he asked the Buddha, is it possible, Lord, to point out a fruit of generosity visible in the here and now? Okay, a field of merit, but when you have a field of merit, there must be something visible. So there's a fruit of generosity visible in the here and now. And the Buddha said, it is possible, see her. One who gives, who is a master of giving, is dear and charming to people at large. And the fact that one who gives, who is a master of giving, is dear and charming to people at large, this is the fruit of generosity visible in the here and now. So when you start giving, what happens? You transform yourself to be dear and charming to people at large, to people around you. Now, furthermore, good people of integrity admire one who gives, who is a master of giving. And the fact that good people, people of integrity, admire one who gives, who is a master of giving, this too is a fruit of generosity visible in the here and now. So if you have been practicing a lot of, you are generous, practicing a lot of giving, okay, people of integrity, that means good people, admire you, admire one who gives, who is a master of giving. So this is visible to other people. This is one of the fruit of generosity visible in the here and now. Furthermore, the fine reputation of one who gives, who is a master of giving, is spread far and wide. And the fact that the fine reputation of one who gives, who is a master of giving, is spread far and wide, this too is the fruit of generosity, visible in the here and now. So people admire you, and not just one or two people admire you, but your fine reputation spreads far and wide. Furthermore, when one who gives, who is a master of giving, approaches any assembly of people, noble warriors, Brahmans, householders, or contemplatives, he or she does so confidently and without embarrassment. So all this too is a fruit of generosity visible in the here and now. So the giver, the fruit of this giving, the person grows confident in whatever station of community the person mix up with. And the Buddha says, furthermore, at the breakup of the body after death, one who gives, who is a master of giving, reappears in a good destination, the heavenly world. And this is a fruit of generosity in the next life. So the earlier aspects of generosity talk about visible in the here and now. This particular one talks about in the next life. And the Buddha replies, General Siha responded to the Buddha, as for the four fruits of generosity visible in the here and now that have been pointed out by the Blessed One, it's not the case that I go by conviction in the Blessed One. Conviction here is talking about saddha or faith or confidence. It's not the case I go by saddha in the Blessed One with regard to them. I know them too, because this General Seer has been practicing these four as practicing generosity, and the four fruits are visible to him. I am one who gives, a master of giving, who am dear and charming to people at large. Good people, people of integrity, admire me. My fine reputation is spread far and wide. They say that Siha is generous, a doer, a supporter of the Sangha. When I approach any assembly of people, noble warriors, Brahmans, householders, or contemplatives, I do so confidently and without embarrassment. So these are some of the gains you have. But when the Blessed One says to me, at the breakup of the body, after death, one who gives, who is a master of giving, reappears in a good destination, the heavenly world. That I do not know. That is where I go by saddha, or faith, or conviction in the Blessed One. And the Buddha replied, so it is, see her. So it is. At the breakup of the body after death, one who gives, who is a master of giving, reappears in a good destination, the heavenly world. So this is some of the aspects of what I call bearing fruit. Now, Sangha as a field of merit. Now, the earlier general Siha, he talked about the act of being generous to anybody. But if you give to the Sangha, the fruit generated is even greater. To give to the ordinary people is already there, but for the Sangha is very much more. Now, here is another angle. For those who have attended senior, you would know about this particular story. Venerable Mahakasyapa and a poor old woman's offering. Now, from the life of Venerable Mahakasyapa, you would remember that Venerable Mahakasyapa was a practitioner of the austerities, and one of his way of practicing is that he does not accept invitations from the public to go to their homes or their houses for dana. He does not accept invitations. He will always make himself available to the person in the street, that means to the multitude. He will go on pintacara, whereby different people will have the opportunity to offer. Why? He knows that he is the incomparable field of merit because he's an arahat, and he makes himself available to as many people as possible to make merit by offering to him, not just to the person who invited him to the house or the family and so on. So in this particular case, it's a special case. In this case, he actually went out and looked for somebody very, very in need of making merit. So in Savatthi, there was a poor woman who had neither relatives nor home. Once she was seriously ill and lay in the open air. Sometimes when servants of a rich family happened to pour outside her the water used for rinsing rice, she would use a piece of towel to collect the dirty water for drinking. Mahakasyapa felt pity for her and paid a visit to her. The old lady was surprised to see Mahakasyapa and said, I'm in extreme poverty. No one else in this country is poorer than me. Isn't there any person in this world giving offerings to the monks? Why do you come to see me? You should instead try to save me from poverty. Little did she know, actually, that was what Mahakasyapa was trying to do. Mahakasyapa replied, no one in this world is more dignified and benevolent than the Buddha or his disciples. I am here to save you in poverty. I have thought of helping you to meet your material needs, but material goods can only save you for the time being, and you will become poorer in the future. It would be better if you offer anything to me so that you can accumulate merits for your future life and be reborn in the wealthy family or in the heavenly realms. But the poor woman could not find anything to offer him, and she cried sadly, I have neither food nor clothes to offer you. One who has the will to give alms is not a poor man. One who has a sense of shamefulness is the follower of the Buddha. You possess these two rare treasures in the world. Hence, you are not poor at all. Those rich people who do not give alms are shameless, are the most ignorant and poorest men. So the old woman was in great joy upon hearing the teachings of Mahakasyapa, and she cherished much hopes for the future. She offered Mahakasyapa the water used for rinsing rice. Mahakasyapa drank it before her, and her heart was filled with happiness. Not long after that, this old woman passed away and entered the Deva realm. Due to the merits of offering water to Mahakasyapa, she became a beautiful deva. Once she recalled her good karma and kindness of Mahakassapa. Hence, she descended from the heavens and spread flowers on Mahakassapa. So that's why Mahakassapa has as part of his practice, he offers himself as an incomparable field of merit to the masses. And in this particular story, he singled out this poor old woman who is in great need of this and offered himself so that she can do dana, insist that she do dana to him. And because of that, she earned a lot of merits and was, on passing away, was reborn in the Deva realm. Okay, so that was this afternoon's coverage of the recollection of the Sangha. I owe you the aspect on the reference to the Jataka storage, which I'll provide an addendum later in the notes. What do you call it? The PDF, which I'll share shortly, will contain some additional notes. Some of it is already duplicated from the senior ones, which I've shared with you earlier for those that attended the senior. But I will provide additional regarding some of the past year questions. So with this, sabba papa sakarana kusala sus upasampada sacitta paridapanang etang buddhana sasana. That we should avoid all evil, do good, purify our minds. This is the teaching of the Buddhas. Now we go to the what do you call Q&A portion.
Brother Ananda.
Yeah.
I have one question.
Yes, yes. You wrote in the chat, isn't it?
No, that one is from your earlier discussion on the the three authority of the.
Oh, okay.
Dhamma Vinaya, the three levels of authority.
Okay.
The question is from the top just now there seem to be three definitions of Sangha, so we cannot take either one of them. So in answering the question or in general, we accept all three definitions now. The three definitions of Sangha, the renunciants, the Aryas are one of definition of the Sangha, the Arya Savaka Sangha, the renunciants, and also any congregation of Buddhists who takes the precept and who takes refuge. These are also called the Sangha in general. So these three definitions, we cannot just pick one, right? You have to take all three together.
Not okay. Your question is multifaceted. Now, with respect to this sharing session, we are talking about Sangha Nusati, reflection on the qualities of the Sangha. Okay, starting with Supatipanno and the rest of the 9 qualities. Here, all 9 refer to the Arya Sangha. It's not any of the other Sangha members. Arya Sangha.
So in this one, it's only for Arya Sangha.
It's only Arya Sangha. Normally, when you go to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha for refuge, normally the tendency is to bias towards Arya Sangha. Though generally, loosely in the committee, in terms of exam, you refer it to the Arya Sangha. But generally speaking, when you talk to other Buddhists and so on, with the Sangha, people will also cover those monastics who may not be may not have been enlightened. They are wedding the groups, they are monastics. That is just conventionally speaking. But with respect to this lecture, Sangha Nusati refers to Arya Sangha, nothing else.
Okay. Thanks for clarification.
Okay, back to your question in the chat. So you mentioned what they call the hierarchical structure. Pali Canon.
No,
okay,
it was
Pali Canon actually is quite loose. It covers early suttas. It also covers later editions. So here we want to talk primarily on about the early texts with regards to the scholars who refer to which ones are the early texts. Those who were added in subsequent what they call councils, 4th council, 5th council, 6th council, and so on. Those are not early texts. not from the word of the Buddha, but just accepted Buddhist literature. That's all. Okay. Then the second one, what it was not explicitly stated but implied in the suttas. This one sometimes that's where the reading of a number of suttas. One sutta may not tell you the full picture, because the Buddha, as you know, is presented by a certain person who asked him the question. The person could be a lay person, the person could be a monastic, maybe a Buddhist monk, his student, or maybe a non-Buddhist. And then depending on the background of the person, the understanding level and all that, the way the Buddha answers, the Buddha tries to customize the answer to the listener, for the listener to have a chance to understand. If the Buddha views that the person has no chance to understand anything that the Buddha were to say, whether turn right, turn left, or whatever, then the Buddha will shut up. That means the Buddha will not waste his time to answer the question, because he knows that if he says anything, he says yes, you will get confused. You say no, you get confused. You say maybe, also you get confused. So better shut up. Maintain his level of delusion. Don't make it worse. You remember that there are 4 ways in which the Buddha answers questions? But that one is another story lah. But for any particular concept, you have to read a number of suttas touching on that aspect. That's where like the recently held, the one in SJBA, the workshop by Bante Agacita, Bante has provided a number of suttas talking about the same thing of stream entry. Okay, from this angle, from that angle, from this sutta, from lay people's perspective, from monastic perspective, and even monastic, so many suttas. And he only provided us with a sampling of that, you know. I'm sure he has a larger collection. I presume you have attended, isn't it? So these are some of the things. So yes, one sutta may not explain the full width of the meaning or the context of that term. You have to read a few suttas touching on the topic, and hopefully when we read with what do you call good insight onto it. I think the workshop indicated that many of us did not read suttas in the right perspective. We assume too many things and we jump to conclusions. We miss certain key linguistic phrasing which the Buddha used, which actually indicate another meaning, which we thought was A. Actually, the Buddha was talking about B. These kind of issues come out. So reading multiple suttas help you to indicate that you have, or rather help you to fine-tune your understanding of that particular concept. Now, number 3, you mentioned official commentaries. Now, there are such things called commentaries. Commentaries are very useful, but sometimes they also provide problems. Commentaries are scholars, Buddhist scholars, usually monastics, that many hundreds of years or maybe thousands of years after the Buddha passed away, some of the culture, some of the references in the sutta refer to certain cultures, certain ways of doing things. Like, for instance, some of the suttas talk about referring to a game which the common people like to play, which today from the sutta description, we don't know what that sutta is talking about. The game may have been lost or may still survive till today, but under a different name. Okay, a common game. This is a lay person's game, not a monastic game, like Congkak and all that in Malaysia and so on. So many kinds of stuff. So you have commentaries. And then if the commentaries were written, say, 500 years after the Buddha's passing away, there would maybe further commentaries written after another 500 years. Why? Over time, language and culture changes. So the understanding of level of different century people of different, what they call time zones or time periods will vary because language evolves. So we don't understand. So we need a commentary of a commentary. A commentary, or talk about the suttas, and then we need a commentary of a commentary. Try to understand what that earlier commentary was talking about, because we don't understand the sutta. Because certain references refer to certain cultural practices which are maybe today lost to the modern day. We are 21st century now. Very hard to understand 2,600 years ago what they were doing, what were they thinking, and the way of life and so on. So these are all commentaries. So once we know that certain statement is made by certain commentaries, we must take it as not as the word of the Buddha. Take it as the word of the commentaries. They are aimed to help but taken in the wrong context. Sometimes the person who commentated this, although a learned scholar at that time, could be mistaken also. So we have to be very careful. Okay, it may help, it may confuse more. So the risk is ours lah. We have to read it with more than a pinch of salt lah, maybe a teaspoon of salt. We have to scrutinize the whole thing. And number 4, personal opinion. Now, a lot of time, what they call Dhamma talks. There are various kinds of Dhamma talks, and some Dhamma talks, as a Dhamma speaker also, sometimes Dhamma speakers will offer their personal opinion, which is good and which is bad. Basically, Dhamma talks today by living speakers, I call them commentaries. Okay, I'm commenting on. So this is trying to bring forward 21st century examples or explanation in our 21st century way of talking lah. At least when I'm speaking in Malaysia, or at least in the Klang Valley, I'm talking Klang Valley style. The way you talk in Penang may be different, you know. There are regional differences even in the English you use, examples you use, and all that lah. Don't talk about different countries. That's even worse. Even you're speaking in English. So those are some of the aspects. So you will notice in my sharings, I try to quote more from the suttas. I leave it to you to interpret accordingly. I might sprinkle a little bit of commentary, what I think it means, and so on lah. Some are very obvious because the Buddha is talking to lay people, so he doesn't try to load too much between the lines lah. Okay, but there still may be, because it is reflective of the cultural way of talking in those days. Okay, but talking to monks especially, and there are different grades of monks, those who are very, very beginners, but some of them are very, very wise, even though they are just ordained, but they have many lifetimes of practice. So one sentence by the Buddha, the person that can become an arahat. So the person is already very wise. So there are variations. So you must understand who the Buddha is talking to. That's why the suttas, we have to read the context before, during, and after. What happened to the person? The person became an arahat and all that. So we have to think the context. Why the Buddha say it this way? Why so brief? Couldn't the Buddha elaborate a bit more? But the person was talking to the person in front of him. So he has to address that teaching directly to the person in front of him. Okay, we don't understand, but the person understood and became an arahat. Okay, so that's it. Any other questions?
A bit out of topic lah, but it's interesting because Bhante Agachita also said the last classification, personal opinion of the Thera. That's where the Theravada meaning comes from. Our whole tradition, the meaning comes from that, the personal opinion of the elders Theravada.
That's inevitable lah. In any human communication, there will be the transfer of comments or ideas from the speaker. That it is inevitable, inherent in all languages. And when languages are limited, like English languages, English language is rooted in the Christian doctrine. That's why when you say translate the word Deva means God, that's actually wrong translation. Because in the ancient world, there are no multiple levels of gods. That confuses the person who is a Christian. In Christianity, God means one, capital G, and only one. You die, you go to heaven, or you go to hell, full stop. So English language is designed for that context. Then you try to use that language to talk about the 31-plane existence and try to find an English equivalent. You run into problems, and you actually end up, you may end up teaching, you are trying to convey a meaning so that people understand, but you may end up teaching adhamma, wrong dhamma. You give wrong understanding. So sometimes a question from the public regarding devas as God, sometimes you have to say, yes, there are gods. Sometimes you must say there's no. Or sometimes in one session to the same question, you say yes and no. Then you describe why is it yes. Then you describe why is it no. The no probably a longer answer lah, describing the 31-plane existence. So it depends on the listener. And but in the Dhamma talk, there are many people, many different backgrounds and ideas, so it is rife for further confusion and wrong understanding. So I don't like to use the word gods, translating devas as gods, I prefer to use the word devas, and then go in and explain that. Leave it in the original, because English does not do justice to this ancient word lah. Okay.
With relation to the topic, Brother Ananda, there's one slide there.
On.
I'm trying to open. There's one slide. The Dutiya
Mahanama.
Dutiya Mahayana Sutta.
The last one.
Yeah, there's a mention, gains a sense of the Dhamma and gains joy connected to the Dhamma. That Dhamma is not the teaching, right? You mean the Dhamma in this is meant by what you mean the Dhamma? The meaning of Dhamma here is actually phenomena, or is it the teaching itself?
At that level, the two are likely to be synonymous.
Oh, synonymous.
Synonymous. Reason because the Buddha used the word Dhamma in various ways. Dhamma can refer to the teachings of the Buddha, as most people in the world refer to. Dhamma can mean everything in the universe. And the whole purpose of Buddhism, is to understand reality. It means to understand Dhamma lah. Okay, so when the Buddha teaches Dhamma, he's trying to point you, spotlight you into certain realities of existence, which is actually anicca, dukkha, anatta, the central characteristic of everything in the universe, except nibbana lah. There's only one reality which is not subject to anicca, dukkha, and anicca and dukkha lah. Nibbana is anatta in the first place. Okay, so we go back to the Dhammapada verse, what they call sabbe sankhara aniccati. All conditioned phenomena are impermanent. Sabbe sankhara dukkhati. So all conditioned phenomena are not unsatisfactory or suffering. And sabbe dhamma anattati. All dhammas, that means all of phenomena are not self. So it can be both, depending how you want to read it. And then I didn't provide the Pali, so I probably have to go back to Pali, what that sentence refers to more specifically. So different speakers may point to certain things. But in the end, it goes one round. Finally, it refers to all of reality. The whole purpose of enlightenment is to understand reality, understand all this, which has a certain characteristic, which is anicca, dukkha, anatta.
I understand, because the whole teaching teaches about Dhamma itself. So it can mean either the teaching or the content of the teaching. But
the teaching is centered upon reality. Okay, so in the end, you go one round, is back to Dhamma to understand what is the characteristic. So it's not wrong also, it's only depending on which aspect you want to emphasize on. But it goes back to the same thing. So enlightenment is based on understanding or realizing what is anicca, dukkha, anatta of all sankharas, and that there is one Dhamma, one reality, which is not subject to anicca and dukkha. It amounts to that lah. Okay, other questions?
Brother, I'm going back to this lower 5 factors, all right?
Yes.
If one overcomes the first factors, self illusion, overcome doubt, but he did not overcome rules and rituals, but he overcome ill will or even sensual lust. Will that help him to enter the stream?
Interesting question. Nowhere in the suttas is there mention of you pick and choose which defilement you want, you overcome those, and then you become an Arya. So far, all the various suttas I've come across mention that the so-called, you don't choose say one, okay, I overcome the Sakaya Ditti, the false impression of there is a self. One only, can I just overcome one? No sutta mentions that as far as I know. When they say you have uprooted, you don't uproot one, you uproot the first batch of defilements. And the first batch is made up of three of these defilements. Okay. So which means the Sakaya Ditti, the Vicikicca, the skeptical doubt, and the Silabata Paramasa, rites and rituals. So means you don't anywhere, here, there, everywhere. defilements. You uproot the easiest one is uproot the batch of 3, and you attain the first stage of sainthood. That's all lah.
Okay.
I haven't come across any sutta that say, oh, I only uproot this one, that one. If that was so much easier for us, we do one by one. But unfortunately, we don't have that. We only have the first 3, and even the second stage of sainthood is only not even uproot. The one is called weaken. Weaken the next 2, and then the third stage of sainthood is called you uproot these 2 which earlier you weaken. And then suddenly there was the 5 lower factors. The next 5 higher factors, suddenly you got a batch of 5. Wow, a lot. Big batch of 5. When you overcome that, you become Arahat. That's what the sutta talks about. I haven't seen any other variation in this arrangement of the defilements.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Brother Ananda,
Yeah, sure.
one last question. Just now you mentioned, you elaborated on the levels of enlightenment, and you did some, or elaborated some on Sotapans. But I just want to ask if you remember during the workshop, Bante also mentioned the five types of anagami. Wondering if you remember them, because I am not able to find where, I don't know, I wasn't able to write it down, the 5 levels of anagami.
It's given in the workbook.
Since we're on the topic.
It's already given. I don't remember the issue, but it's given in the workbook. Just go back to your workbook and you can identify them already.
Yeah, but the workbook is kind of vague. You see, the workbook's explanation. He gave another explanation using another sutta something.
I think there are already off the cuff. I would say at least 2 suttas, if not more, that mention the different levels of anagamis, if I'm not mistaken. But you want to know more detail, I guess you can propose to Bante. In fact, I didn't come across anybody proposing to Bante to conduct another workshop on anagamis.
Okay.
You should have lah.
Yeah, we'll propose that.
But I think I don't mind Bante conducting a part 2 workshop on further along the stream entry route. To go deeper. I'm sure he has got many other suttas which he has held back because the workbook already for us already very difficult for us to understand already lah.
He has done one a Q&A session after a workshop. So I think we can propose that once he has done one open-mindedness, then because there's so many questions, he did another Q&A session with those participants. Then they can ask their questions after the workshop. So maybe we can propose that.
Yeah, I've come across him organizing a email version, news chat type of thing, where people submit for participants who have signed up. But what happened is some people ask very relevant questions. There were some people who asked stupid questions.
Yeah.
Who were former participants of workshops, and Bante actually scolded that person. Okay, so there are pros and cons. But along the way, it'd be good if I think through the video, and there were many questions where under the video camera and all that, Bante will be able to compile all this and put it in the so-called public release of these proceedings from so many sessions of the workshop with so many kinds of Q&A. Some of them repeat questions from different workshops. Some are new, insightful ones, and he can provide. I think that will be the more relevant one.
Yeah, to make a composite of everything.
Composite of different workshops, all the questions raised. I'm sure there will be some miss out lah. Some people forgot to ask this question this kind of thing lah. I think you attended at least 2 workshops, isn't it?
Yeah, two. 3.
The one in Isapa and the one at SJBA.
No. The second one I did not. I did not.
Oh, okay.
Different workshop, Sankara workshop, the other one.
Oh, okay. Okay. The others, any other questions? So if none, I think we can call it an evening. So I will share the PDF of these slides plus additional notes, and I still owe you some of the analysis with respect to the Jatakas on the 9 virtues of the Buddha.